Hello year 8, welcome to Mr. Chen's classroom again. How are you guys? So today in science we are doing the part 2 of closer look at atoms. Let's do some recap before we start. So as you remember from last videos, which is part 1, you realize atoms actually made up of proton, neutrons and electrons right there. All right, look at this one. So this is a rough structure of an atom, and on the outside you have this electron shell. Okay, that is what hold all the electrons, and electrons are actually floating right there. Those electrons they are floating, circulating around the shell, and they can't go any further in. And in the middle we have your nucleus. Alright, in the middle we have your nucleus. In nucleus we actually have proton and neutrons in them. Okay, so proton and neutrons are the one that form your nucleus. And always remember the number of proton, the number of proton and the number of electron has to equal. Okay, has to be the same. So right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right here I have 5 protons, and that means I also need to have 5 electrons, which you will, when you count, it will be the same. So electrons also a lot smaller than your proton and neutrons, about 1,800 times smaller. That is another fact of for your electrons. So let's get into what I would like to get out from this part 2. So in part 2, you the learning goal will be understanding the meaning of atomic number and atomic mass. Okay, also aka also known as mass number. And after this you will be able to calculate the number of subatomic particles. Okay, so obviously the keywords will be protons, your electrons and your neutrons, and proton shell. So I would like you to quickly recall whether proton is positively charged or negatively charged. Same with electron and neutrons. You need to make this clear before you're able to do anything. Okay, or else you will be you'll do a wrong calculation. So proton is positively charged. Okay, electron is negatively charged, and neutrons have no charge. Okay, so -1, this one is +1, and that one is 0, no charge. So let's introduce you the element symbol on periodic table, and also talk about what those number means. Alright, so those if you look at your periodic table, this is a sodium, alright, Na, right here. This is your sodium. So sodium is one of the two major elements that actually make up your salt, table salt. So what does that number mean on the side? You see them all the time in your periodic table, okay? So what that actually means is the one on the bottom, let's start at the smaller number. The one at the bottom actually represent the atomic number. Alright, so the one at the bottom represent atomic number, and the one at the top is what we call atomic mass or mass number. You can call either one of them. So what does this mean? What it means is the atomic mass, let's look at the numbers first, atomic number, the smaller number, the 11, right? It represents the number of proton in the atoms. Okay, so that means there are only 11 protons in sodium atoms. Okay, and the big number 23 represent the atomic mass or mass number. It is the combination of proton number and the neutron number, which essentially is your nucleus. Okay, it is how heavy the nucleus weighs. As we know, the reason why we don't take into account of electrons is because electron is 1,800 times lighter. Okay, so it's kind of become ignorable. We just ignore the fact that the electron weigh anything because it is just too light. Okay, so with that, you will be able to draw the atomic structure of a sodium using those information. Alright, atomic structure of atoms Na. How do you draw that? Let me teach you how to do it. So, sodium atoms based on what we have found out from the number, we know the sodium atoms have 11 proton. Okay, and how many electron does it have? The number of electron will also be 11 because it will always be the same between the two. So the only tricky part is your neutrons. How do you find out neutrons? As we know, the big number here is 23. 23 is the combination of proton and neutrons. Okay, so since we know the proton is 11, we just need to do deduction or subtraction to take away the number of proton from the atomic mass. That will give you 12. Alright, so 12, that means there are 12 neutrons in sodium. So from there, we actually can draw the atomic structure of sodium. So as we know, the nucleus here consists of proton and neutrons. So what you need to just do is draw the number of proton and draw the number of neutrons, okay, in that nucleus. So there will be 11 proton. I drew the 11 proton right there already, which is represented by blue color. And the number of neutrons, there are 12 of them. I drew that as well. Okay, so if you count, it will all add up to 23. So once you finish with that, you on the outside the electron shell, you need to put in 11 electrons. Now it is not that simple to draw all 11 atoms in that thing. What you need to do instead is there are actually a few layers of electron shell. So what that means is there is rule to it. Alright, the rule is this: 2, 8, 18 is the rule. Alright, I'm gonna teach you what that means. So what it means is the first layer, the first electron shell, which I have drawn out there, can only hold 2 electrons. Okay, the first, so what that means, I'm gonna draw 2 electrons, and which will be that, and the second shell can hold up to 8. So we have 11 electrons. So we can definitely fill up the second one. So I'm gonna draw one more there. Alright, so I'm gonna draw 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So normally the way we draw it is you pair the electron up, okay, and then draw them like that, which will be a lot easier to read, okay. However, we know that in real life the electron are a group of clouds, so they're just gonna jumble together and form like a cloud and go wherever they want. But for theory purpose, we draw them like that. And what happened is now we have drawn 10 electrons, okay, and we know first shell can hold 2, second shell can hold 8. So what that means is we leave the only electron left has to go to the third shell, okay, has to go, sorry about my drawing, the last electron has to go on the outside, unfortunately. So there you go, that will be our atomic structure of sodium atoms. Alright, we will do a lot more practice in our lesson on that, so that you actually be really good at it, because that will be very useful for year 9 next year. So to sum up these part 2 lessons, I taught you what is atomic number, atomic mass, and the difference between the two. And from there, you're able to calculate the number of subatomic particles, which means you are able to calculate number of proton, neutron numbers, and electron number from the number given. Alright, good job, guys. See you next lessons. Ciao, peace, bye.